What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. Elvira Nabiullina, the head of the Central Bank of Russia, had enough, and she finally did it. She got tired of trying to hint Putin through various methods that the economy is heading towards inevitable collapse. So, she decided to set a trap for him. And it looks like he took the bait. What specifically she did is absolutely nothing. What I'm referring to here is the interest rates of Russia. Many people expected that in December it will be increased to 23%, since inflation expectations right now are at 28%. But despite everyone's expectations, Elvira Nabiullina decided to keep the rates at previous 21%. Without a doubt, this was a pretty unexpected move by the Central Bank of Russia, one that left even seasoned analysts scratching their heads. Common sense says if inflation is soaring, you would need to raise the interest rate, but no. The bank decided to hold at 21%. Why would they make such an illogical choice, some people might ask. But once you factor in the bank's unique standing under President Putin's regime, and the pressures it faces from practically every angle, it actually starts to make a weird kind of sense. What seems as counterproductive might actually end up a genius policy that can help destroy the influence of Putin over Russia. Because if you cannot destroy the regime, do everything possible to help it destroy itself. Let's be honest, for years the central bank has operated like some kind of a wizard workshop, casting just enough magic to keep the regime's big plans afloat. Among other branches of power, it looks like that the central bank remains the only one that Putin was not able to take under his full control. Elvira Nabiullina herself wanted to resign as soon as the war started back in 2022, but was not allowed to do it. Since then, she was being literally held hostage, working against her will, and trying to maintain the Russian economy alive, knowing perfectly well in case something goes bad, she will be the one and only to blame. Her career at best is at stake, but most likely it is her life as well. So you can only imagine the level of dedication such person would have towards the goals of their upper management. For years, Elvira Nabiullina was doing just enough not to be punished and avoid suspicion, because deep inside she always knew that one day Putin will make a mistake. He is just a human after all. The environment that he was creating around himself will inevitably start cracking, forcing him to take rash and not well-thought decisions. And once opportunity presents itself, Elvira Nabiullina will just need to slightly push in the right place for the entire construction to collapse. In my personal opinion, the decision to keep rates as they are is exactly this slight invisible push. The head of the Central Bank of Russia waited for years for this moment to arrive, and finally, it is here. President Putin saw firsthand how catastrophic economic freefalls can be back in the late 1990s. Ever since, he has made it a priority to ensure that at least on the surface, money flows where it needs to. He does not pretend to understand all the technical stuff and economic mumbo-jumbo. He leaves it to what he considers his financial sorcerers. Because of that, the bank's leadership has enjoyed a level of freedom rarely seen in such a top-down system. From the outside, it often looks like bank officials can conjure cash out of thin air, chanting their inflation spells, summoning fresh rubles, and claiming to keep everything under control. Oddly enough, this illusion shielded the bank from the usual Kremlin inspections, no matter how many times big-shot oligarchs or cabinet members complained. Year after year, the bank prevented different crises, so the government could pursue its various adventures, including the military ones, without the entire economy tanking. It is no secret, if there is no functioning financial system, even the most brutal security measures will not matter much, because there will be no money to pay those enforcers. That's precisely why the bank got away with so much independence, even when figures like Elvira Nabiullina took heat from all sides. Love her or hate her, if she is printing rubles to keep the war machine and other pet projects going, she is valuable to those in power. Guys, as you can see, for the last several months, the attention of this channel switched more towards politics, social and economic problems of Russia, its relationship with Ukraine and other countries around the world, both friends and enemies. And I wanted to thank you so much for your support of this new format. I read your comments and I see your renewed appreciation. Thank you. However, If you still miss frontline updates, there is a great YouTube channel that most of you probably heard about, Reporting from Ukraine. They do quick 5-minute summaries, show how the territorial gains shift, and use footage when appropriate. I just wanted to bring awareness to their brand new website rfunews.com, where you can get much more content from them, including additional videos and never seen before articles, if you prefer to absorb your information through text. And guess what? Everything is kept to the same 5 minutes format, so things are very clean, understandable, and very straight to the point. Since I don't follow much the details about minor frontline shifts anymore, even personally I found RFU News to be extremely helpful to keep myself in the loop. Who is attacking, who is on defense, and which settlements are captured or liberated. I'm confident that their website is a must if you want to have a clear picture on everything that goes around Russian invasion of Ukraine. Their maps are professionally created, the advancements are animated, and what surprised me the most, it does not feel cluttered. Because every time you want to show something on the map, after just drawing a couple of arrows here and there, it becomes an unreadable mess. And well, guys from Reporting from Ukraine were able to avoid this chaos and present information in the cleanest way possible. The Russian dude and Reporting from Ukraine knew about each other almost since the beginning of war, so we decided to finally work together and give you guys an amazing offer if you are willing to support their work and get access to this ultimate analytical tool. After all, their project is not backed by big corporations, no, they rely on people like us. So please go ahead and check out my link in the description to take advantage of their 40% Christmas discount. But guys, hurry, it ends in 1 week. Thank you so much RFU News for sponsoring this video, and now back to the program. Let's continue. We were talking about Elvira Nabiullina finally getting her chance for revenge. Russia's economy is flashing red warning signs. Rising inflation, a ruble that cannot stop losing value, and repeated rate hikes that don't seem to be doing a thing. The protective shield is starting to crack. Politicians like Sergei Mironov are furious. They demand to know why never-seen-before high interest rates have not tamed surging prices. And meanwhile, businesses everywhere are drowning in debt that suddenly became way more expensive. Defense contractors, who, let's not forget, are crucial to the regime, are also complaining that these sky-high borrowing costs are choking the very industries tasked with building up Russia's military might. So, as a result, the central bank's administration is caught in a political tug-of-war. One side shouts, "Tighten the monetary screws more," hoping to curb the inflation. The other side yells, "Loosen up, or we cannot produce enough to meet the state's demands." No matter which direction the bank goes, somebody powerful is going to be mad. Push the rates higher, and businesses on the brink of collapse will go under. Keep it low, and the inflation gallops even faster. Honestly, this divided position of just the central bank itself alone is a genius move by Elvira Nabiullina, by showing that they are trying to solve the problem, trying to look for a solution, but then there are these people inside the organization itself who prevent things from happening. It looks for Putin that Nabiullina is genuinely trying to help. In the meantime, these arguments, they just achieve nothing, while creating an illusion of desperate work. So Putin cannot even blame Nabiullina for not trying, because she does. But nevertheless, this has forced some figures like Sergei Chemezov of Rostec, who knows at least the very basics of how the economy works, to publicly accuse the bank of sabotaging the country's industrial revival. Luckily for Elvira Nabiullina, his complaints were ignored. Now we come to the bank's latest trick, or should I say, the lack of one. Holding the rate at 21% when practically every sign pointed to another hike is a big and very risky statement. In a normal economic environment, you would only do that if things were kinda relatively stable, if growth was decent or inflation was calming down. But in Russia's case, inflation is accelerating, and overall production is stagnant or even falling. And you guessed it, we are talking stagflation territory. The signs could not be more obvious. Slower growth plus higher prices equals, well, a recipe for chaos. Part of the problem is that the government keeps shoveling money into war-related spending, therefore flooding the market with excess rubles. The central bank tries to take it out of the system with interest rate hikes, but that does not work when the state itself opens the monetary floodgates every day. Elvira Nabiullina, she closes 2 taps, Putin opens 3 more. Let's not forget, businesses must pay workers more, especially in the defense sector, just to keep them from quitting. So with wages up and production demands through the roof, prices naturally spike. Meanwhile, the rest of the economy, especially smaller retail, IT and services, gets squeezed by fewer resources and shrinking workforce. It's a classic short-term prosperity, quote-unquote, bubble, that's fueled by thin air and newly printed currency. Eventually that bubble bursts, and when prices surge faster than wages, everyone, and even including these well-paid defense workers, everyone will feel the consequences. So, what's the central bank supposed to do? They cannot point fingers at Putin's never-ending war budget, because that's a political. Elvira Nabiullina tried to indirectly hint at it, but, she was ignored. So be it. They cannot keep increasing rates either, because half of the elite are already furious at them. The 21% rate might look absurd, but it's basically a sign that the bank is trying not to poke the bear any further. An increase to 23%, would that have really changed anything? Probably not. Ideally, you would want the rates higher than the inflation in order for this policy to do something. But when the rates are lower than the inflation, it's not gonna change anything. Except maybe making it more difficult for smaller business owners to survive. Instead, higher rates would be definitely turn more heads in the Kremlin, and not in a good way. If this is the new normal, then Russia might lose one of its last relatively stable institutions. Once the central bank caves under lobbyists demanding easy money or becomes too paralyzed by the fear of powerful critics, it can no longer do the basics of monetary policy. That's a big problem in a wartime economy, where printing endless rubles will only make inflation even uglier. Businesses already anticipate another wave of price hikes, and the bank's authority to calm those fears is fading by the day. If Nabiullina and her team spend all their time dodging political bullets instead of designing workable policies, don't expect the inflation getting under control anytime soon. Elvira Nabiullina realized that. So she decided to create the illusion of desperate work, making it look like she's trying her best to save the situation. Chemizov, Siluanov, Milonov, anyone can blame her, she's not afraid. Only Putin can do something to her. And right now, the only thing left for Nabiullina is to witness how Putin walks right in his own trap. The trap that made him ignore all the signs of failing economy in favor of optimistic headlines about successes in Ukraine. Inevitably, the trap will close. And if Putin is a wolf, as he portrays himself, it will be very interesting to see if he is ready to chew off his leg in order to save his life. Well, there you have it, guys. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. If you wish to support my work, there are links down below. For example, my Patreon, where you get access to these episodes in very early access, and then also you can get hundreds of uncensored photos and videos from Ukrainian war. And as always, thanks so much for watching, and see you on Tuesday.
We won't succumb to their tricks, the facade they try to sell. Their twisted words and feeble claims on us all they cannot quell. We see through their lies, their feeble attempts to sway. We do not believe in ridiculous Russian propaganda.